Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I think we are a little short-shifted as far as the staff is concerned and the people are concerned in this session. But more importantly, I thought it'd be a great opportunity. All of us coming from India are aware of what we're doing in green skilling and how the initiatives have taken off under the Skill Development Council kind of achievements. And with these laudatory goals which the Prime Minister has set, we are on, at least as far as solar is concerned, in a big way. We've already hit about 75 gigawatts kind of power for an aim of 200, which was there, which has now been increased to 500 gigawatts of power. So there is a lot that is happening in the green area as far as energy is concerned. But of course, as we heard yesterday, I think from the steel sector, we heard Tata Steel, the initiative that they've put in place now for green. Well, as he says, you can't be devoid of carbon emissions when you're making steel. But I mean, how do you nullify the effect so that you move towards zero emissions? So there is, in the manufacturing, in all these areas, efforts already underway to see that we can achieve it. I think with the current level of engagement that India and Bangladesh have today, it is extremely outstanding. And if you see how this political and apex leadership synergy has helped to trickle down, you can figures best to represent that would be the trade and commerce. If you see, people to people contact always existed, but if you look at it, that from 2006, where you were at about 2-3 billion dollars of trade, the figures in 2021 were about 11 billion. And today, when you look at the unofficial figures of 2021-22, you're hitting somewhere close to 16 to 18 billion USD. So that there has been literally a quantum jump, and that is all reflective of the great relationship we've had with Bangladesh. And today, when you look at it, we just had recently a Silchar Sillet meet where you were looking at local engagements where local produced from that sub-region, irrespective of the boundaries that divide the two countries. We should try and optimize that and create, well, I say value for the people of that region, and then naturally, automatically, for the people of the two countries in a larger perspective. So what do we look at in this particular session? I think I thought I'll take this opportunity, as we're only just two speakers, one, to try and just set in place what kind of facilities do we have in India that have come up, and which are the areas where engagement can take place, where India could share its experiences of what it is doing in green skilling, green technologies that are coming into our place, and then the offshoots of that to train people on the relevant existing spaces, or for the new evolving kind of workspaces and livelihoods that are coming up related to green skilling. Just to give, yesterday I was talking to some people out here casually, and they mentioned, he says, there was already engagement and inquiries related to the fact that we should look at solar. They're looking for large solar companies from India to collaborate and come and set up issues as far as Bangladesh is concerned. More importantly, primarily for one reason, that Bangladesh is in the forefront of the impact of climate change, which, whether the rest of the world talks about it or not, whether COP27 looks at climate justice, climate resilience, and other activities of finance, I think finally the job boils down to the people of Bangladesh and India and South Asia to ensure that we are braced up for this kind of a catastrophe, and we can push it back or we can try and arrest it so that mitigation and adaptation strategies are in place before the whole thing really impacts all of us. So when I look at that, I think I'm always reminded of an example that happened in 2007 when I went to China just before the Olympics that were held there. Uh, Pollution in Beijing was as bad as what is in Delhi, if not worse at that stage. And suddenly we found that by the time the Olympics came in 2 and a half years down the line, Beijing was absolutely clean. I mean, pollution had stopped. Unfortunately, they closed down all the coal-fired energy plants that they had out there. They started looking at other means to mitigate the aspect of pollution that was happening there. Constructions was stopped for a large period of time, but more importantly, that all, instead of the coal fired things, they started looking at wood, and that wood was being cut from Indonesia and the forest in that part of the world. So lo and behold, you come to 2018, 2019, and suddenly uh, the levels of pollution in the air are on the increase again in Beijing, which actually highlighted two issues, and that's the reason why I want to share this. That irrespective of the fact that they had taken whatever they wanted within their territorial boundaries, but what they were doing in the sub-region or the similar eco-climatic zone in Indonesia or other far-off places had a cascading impact on their own country. So today, if India does not look at supporting Bangladesh in its fight against this climate change malice, then I think we would also be the people who would suffer. Because if Bangladesh had to have loss of land, you want to have migration that will happen from here. Migration will happen to India, that creates another security imperative as far as India is concerned. So I think the challenges remain combined. And the good part is that today, both India, Bangladesh, from large number of stories we heard yesterday about how we are looking at our national reserves, which transcend boundaries. So we are looking at sustaining, regenerating our bio resources and the bio capabilities that exist in this one of those bio hotspots of the world of Northeast Bangladesh, and you take it up to the Eastern Himalayas. So I think that's an area which really needs to be looked at, and that is what we should try and address. Now, how do I look at the area of green skilling? I think going green is everywhere. You talk about green hydrogen, gray hydrogen, or blue hydrogen. I mean, so you've got everywhere. So I think the answer today is wherever you can cut down in your processes of work, development activities, in your current basic agro practices, whether it's farming, whether it is at, looking at the issues related to farm produce or to animal husbandry, well, I think wherever you can sort of step in and cut down the emissions, you're doing a job for going green. But wherever you're utilizing technologies or new sources of energy to supplement it, then you require a new kind of a skill data that has to come. So reskilling and skilling are the two issues that are really related. And I think the good part as far as India is concerned, I think, is that the government has taken measures. And I thought I must share this with all of you for only one reason, that place on record that the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship in India was set up in 2014 and has, as you're aware, about 38 sectors council skills. So they're looking at the complete spectrum of living and lifestyle as far as India is concerned. And today, when you talk about the global issue, as far as our Prime Minister in the G20 is talking about life well-being, I think so. He's really changing the whole story. So you have sector councils which address all these 38 sectors. You're looking at 33 national skill training institutes. You have agencies under the ministry which is looking at skill development, NSDA. You've got the Director General of Training, but you have a large number of sister organizations which is spanning this whole space. So today, when Bangladesh is looking at moving towards cutting down on its emissions, has a great opportunity with the bonhomie that exists between the two countries today politically to able to sort of carve out relevant memorandums with the country so that we can have an exchange of knowledge sharing, exchange of the training syllabi that we have created, exchange of skilled and capability that exists within the India for capacity development within Bangladesh. So I think keeping that in mind, I said we will see if there are any questions that come out from anyone who's currently interested. But I know there is a large amount of interest. The Adanis are looking at coming into the space. They are looking, and one of the greatest requirements for solar, if we have to look at, is that you need an alternate source to be able to ensure that when at the peak period you do not have these kind of advantages of uh, the sun giving you that necessary solar capability till the batteries and the storing facilities get better. You require an alternate means to fuel it. And today, with the number of rivers here, small micro projects can always support small mini solar farms all over the place to tide over this capability. And as we said, lastly, what's been talked about, if we look at linking up our power grids, then the hydropower resources that come up from the northeast of India will be available to supplement and sustain the solar initiatives that start off in this country. So with that, I'm going to actually invite Geetika, who's there with development alternatives as far as in Delhi, looking at actually the issue of livelihoods, looking at sustainability across the complete spectrum. They've actually been the path breaking and the premier agency in India which started off this activity. And fortunately, I think with Naturenomics, development alternatives, and me involved with the Club of Rome, we managed to be able to at least generate the right kind of thought and direction for implementation. So with that, over to Geetika to share her views. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sani. And I just want to. No, this is not the presentation. No, I don't have any presentation. Yeah. So this is really a great pleasure for me, and thanks Balipara Foundation for inviting me to represent development alternatives here. So today's the topic that was given to me is connecting India and Bangladesh in the field of the green business and skill and jobs. I think that's a very important point nowadays to discuss. And just taking cue of your points, Mr. Sani, I would like to say, before I talk about jobs and skills, I think what we need to now talk about is what is the current challenges that the entire humanity is facing right now. You know, these challenges like climate change challenges we are having due to a lot of whatever happened in the past. Currently they all the developing countries, especially the countries in the global south, are facing the maximum challenges and vulnerabilities due to climate change. There are a lot of temperature rise, sea level rise, frequent disasters like coastal cyclones, super cyclones, etc., and frequent spells of droughts and all, which all the countries are facing, mostly, you know, India and Bangladesh as well, because of the longest coastline. And also there are a lot of those climate challenges. Due to those climate challenges, we are also facing a lot of problem on jobs. We are losing our jobs. The fishermen are losing their jobs. The farmers are losing their jobs due to the water, the salt water inundation into the fertilizer, into their farmers land. There are a lot of jobs is being lost, and people are compelled to migrate. You know, now it has already been proved that that is a climate refugees, because climate refugees all about because of the climate change, people are losing their jobs, and that's how people are migrating. It's not migrating within the country, it's sometimes across the country, and it's a climate refugees, that's already proved. So there is a loss of job, and there is also loss of resources. If we talk about resources, I talk about everything. It's the biotic and abiotic resources, the finite resources and infinite resources. We are right now, uh, India, Bangladesh, both are really fortunate to have a lot of rivers, you know, and we have ample quantity of water. We never thought of, you know, historically, this Bangladesh and India, both, that we have to face the challenge of water. You know, now lot of the cities are kind of running out of water. Bangalore is one. our in Uttarakhand, some of these cities is loss of water. And I think even Bangladesh, there would be the problem. It's not the problem of water, but there are problem due to water. Sometimes it's a flood, sometimes it is drought. So these are kind of the challenges that we are facing every day. If we have to really look at to address how these challenges really can be addressed, we have to look at how we should um, capacitated our human population. It's also talk about, if we talk about job, we really can't depend upon the jobs provided by government. So we have to look at how we ourselves can create more jobs, and that jobs, you mean the entrepreneurship. And I would say there's nowadays a lot of traction on the startup ecosystem. That's a huge in India already. A lot of that start due to this startup ecosystem. There are a lot of schemes that has come up, as you have clearly mentioned about the Ministry of Skill Development and Ministry and Entrepreneurship. That's a ministry itself is formed in 2014, and now we are at a uh, Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana at 3.2. So we already have covered 2, and now we are at a 3.0 from 2021 to 2022, where we are really talking about more on how to develop the capacities of the young generation. And you might also know that all our universities, both private and government universities and institute, now have started up the entrepreneurship sale, just to support this young entrepreneur to come up. Now when we talk about entrepreneurship, I think we have to talk about four main things. The skilling part is really talks about four types. One is that technological, so you have to have the technological skill. We have to have the finance, because the entrepreneur cannot start business without the finance. Then we have the market, and then coming for the capacities. So all these fours together, to really we can develop the capacity, we can actually call the skilling part of it. So now coming to all this introduction, I should talk about little bit of what development alternative is doing in this sector. We are under the scheme MSME, Ministry of MSME. There is a scheme called Sufurti, where we are working as Indian Micro Enterprise Development Foundation. Where basically it's a social enterprise development vehicle of the development alternatives groups, and we are registered as a nodal agency of Ministry of MSMEs, where we are actually trying to boost the ecosystem for green and inclusive entrepreneurship. So how we work? We work on transfer and adaptation of innovative technologies based business models. We do provision of credit and finance linkage to the entrepreneur. We do integration and mainstreaming of the product and services into local and high value markets, and collaborate with institutions to create an ecosystem promoting cluster development. So right now we are currently working in 12 states. We have developed already we have developed a cluster of 29 clusters across 12 states. More than 21,000 artisans have been trained. Out of them, now 9,000 is a women entrepreneur. So basically, we are talking about whatever the skills, all India and Bangladesh, in both the countries, there are a lot of traditional skills that's there. So our job is to find out, which are the skills, which kind of entrepreneur artisans is doing. So we kind of cluster them, minimum 300 to 500 artisans together, then give up the support from the ministry to put a common facility center. That through the common facility center, these entrepreneurs, the budding entrepreneurs or artisans, can work together. Their marketing is assured because there is a buyback arrangement. The finance is assured because that is through the schemes, the Sufurti scheme. We are giving them access them finance. At the same time, we are giving them training. Some like many artisans, they are already doing lot of craft work, but those are not marketable products. So that is that design products, that kind of training that we are providing through this. And so right now we are working in 12 states, and that is, some of these clusters are really in a very remote areas in Karnataka, in Kerala, in Chhattisgarh, where they were never really put up their products in a market. So that kind of marketing linkage that we have developed, and I think that's one area where we can both the countries can work together, because I'm sure that there are a lot of these artisans are already there in Bangladesh, where maybe we can find out something where we can work together. The other thing that our another domain is a development action domain. We are there working lot on skilling and upskilling of livelihood, where we are working on digital literacy and functional literacy, especially for the women. And currently we have a program called Tara Akshar program, that is a 56-day digital literacy program for adult literacy, the age group of 50 and up. These women who have never had any exposure to the literacy program, we tried and develop their skills and capacities by digitally. And also we have given them the functional literacy of just to use a mobile phone to get more information, how to use a mobile phone to get more information for them. And we have some budding entrepreneur or very young young people, like the age of 21, 22, of some women who have already opened up their shops. One of them is very successful in Bundelkhand, especially in the central belt of India, where many of these girls who are just graduating from their universities, maybe from the colleges, they have opened up kiosks. That is this information kiosk, where they are just providing, they have a computer, they're just providing information which is helping the local communities for for banking, for any credit linkages. So these are some of these kiosks that we have developed, and they are now running by these young girls. So these are some of, and if we talk about, and these are also part of the green skilling. And if we talk about now more on your farmer based and farmer training centers, where we are giving them training on organic farming, we are giving them training on what is that yeah, the vermicompost, to even the organic pesticides, like neem oil, those kind of, so which is actually helping them for going more towards green and towards, yeah, value adding. And the other thing is, I would also like to mention about the community radio. That's a wonderful tool to just reach out to the communities at the bottom of the ground. If we are doing any kind of project, I think, if we are doing any kind of project, we can reach out to certain number of households, say 250 household, 500 household, 1000 household. But through this community radio initiative, we are actually reaching out to more, 4 5 fold more household, where we are really doing the climate communication. So which kind of crop we should have right this season, how much irrigation you should give, what is the climate, if there is any advisory services from the district advisory climate advisory services that we are giving through this community radio. We are also connecting the experts, agriculture experts, to the local people, that what should be done, if it is a drought, it is a flood. So these are also kind of a capacity development and skilling as well through the community radio. I think these are some of these the work that we are working. I would like to add one more thing. I'm part of the research and policy wing. So we are also working. There are lots of schemes. Government schemes. There, mudra loan and so many schemes are there. But many people doesn't even know where to go, how to go, and how to access those schemes, how to get access to those finance which is available. But what we are doing, that we are just giving, we are trying to develop that skill, and we have developed a toolkit where we are giving all the different schemes which is available, where to go, which are the department you should go, what are the kind of documents that you require to access those kind of loans, even those how to fill up those documents. It's kind of a toolkit just to help these entrepreneur to access loan, to access information from different government department. And one of the state government, Bihar state government, is really very happy. They have endorsed this toolkit, and they have now wanted us to translate it in Hindi, because the local language, and to roll out a large scale training program on the basis of the toolkit, so that they can reach out more and more people who can access the government schemes. So maybe I can stop here. I can come back again. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Geetika. Thanks. But I think you've quite well articulated the challenges, and of course, along with the challenges which you implied was the demographic dividend that exists in both countries. Today, when you look at Bangladesh, I think 52% of the population is below 29 years, whereas in India it's decreasing; it's now 46%. So there is a large amount of young population which needs to look at options and looking for livelihoods. You can get educated, but are you skilled for the new environment where the requirement of jobs are far larger than the workforce that is coming into or demanding to want to get into that space? So I think the one of the issues that really came out beautifully was the fact that entrepreneurship, by looking at a small scale, which can be done depending on the region and the area or the sub-region where you live, can be done by you yourself. So instead of really becoming an employee, you become an employer. And in this area, the development alternatives and organizations like these in India have created programs which are based on experiential learning, which can give you the skills in the shortest period of time to empower you to go ahead. Yes, I think one thing that is lacking today, which we wouldn't be able to sort of justify in this session, was that what are those I would schemes, advantages, policy initiatives that the current government in Bangladesh has for the younger workforce to be able to exploit, to be able to go into entrepreneurship. So that's an area that we could work together with agencies here to be able to help them out to develop that tool. I think the issue today, which I think is a great one, that with TV and with media permeating our society, I think aspiration levels have gone up all across the society. So it's not only the young people, but the elder workforce. Workforce or people who are above the 50 baseline also feel that they need to get engaged and plugged into the lifestyles that exist today for the younger people. So these adult education programs to address these aspirations of the senior people in the society are already there also with initiatives. So those would also help uh, people who are looking at opportunities like these within the country in Bangladesh. Uh, I, I could have, we could have gone on a debate, but I said the large majority was giving only an Indian viewpoint. So I'd be delighted now that we have some of these young uh, students who've come in, or young uh, budding entrepreneurs sitting here. If there are some issues that you would like to ask really related to upskilling, skilling, or green jobs, well, I can always help you out. Uh, and we can try and sort of direct you to the right direction so that you can optimally utilize and exploit it in your own domain. Anybody who'd like to have anything, or but not to worry about it. I think the issue that really comes out is that the demographic dividend in this room is also around 30, I think. Or is it around maybe a shade? I plug the upper limit gap. So with the younger generation here, I'm sorry, you've got problems of climate change, which you will have to grapple with. I might be sitting in my grave, but you guys for sure will have to grapple with this particular challenge. So look at how you can reduce emissions in the workplace that you are aspiring to join. Please look at digital platforms, technology to help you change the methodology of how you're operating and how you're functioning. We've already seen that Bitcoins came in and everybody talked about the revolution that it has done, but it created havoc as far as the energy requirements were concerned. And because of the safety and cybersecurity issues, that's also collapsed to an extent. So I would say be sensible, be a little logical. You are at a stage where you're moving in, but your generation has one great challenge. People like us who joined a particular profession could continue till posterity, till you retire. I'm sorry for all of you. You'll have to start looking at jobs and rejobs. So skilling, reskilling is going to be part of your agenda and part of your lifestyle. So please be conscious that even if you're going into technology oriented for green skilling, if you're in AI algorithms that can support and ensure that the hazards and national disaster management that is to be to avert, you can't avert the disaster, but you can always take corrective and preventive action. So develop technologies that can exploit that. And if you're going into agro farming, or you're looking at food processing units, or you're looking at optimizing and value to these issues, then you have to really look at processes which will be more eco-friendly and will not really harm the fragile ecosystem that exists. Already it has been tampered by people of our generation, so your generation will have to make sure that it doesn't reach the tipping point where then you can't do anything about it. So I think, and then you're just faced with disaster. So I mean, I'm going to say if there are no questions, and if anybody would like to share his personal view. Why not, please? Yeah. Yeah, Vishal.
Well, I was discussing yesterday with the organizers what would be the outcome of takeaway of these consultations. They said that Tata Motors will see something that they are going to do in Sundarban area. Maybe that they will plant thousands of trees there. Now, my question is that very good that Tata groups are supporting here and doing these kind of endeavor. But if you will see the entire system, Indian government is focusing net zero in 2070. China is 2060 and USA is 2050. Most vulnerable country would be Bangladesh, not India. If you will see that G7 is saying that they are going to do something, but for V20, vulnerable 20, it's a debatable question that India will come in vulnerable 20 or not. But yes, Bangladesh will come definitely. And in near future, they are going to see storms, rainfalls, huge rainfalls, maybe the more floods which they have seen. In that condition, their economy will drastically suffer. What kind of role Indian corporate can play? Because I am fortunate that you are also associated with Tata Motors. What kind of role Indian corporate can play to support them rather than fighting with a developing country that they have to play their role? This is my simple question.
Very interesting, though a little off the subject, but that's not a problem. That's not the issue. What I would say is today, if you have to look at it, we talked about right in the beginning when I talked about how we are part of one big bio ecosystem. The boundaries, the rivers don't see any geographical divides which have been created by us in the Westphalian model. So it doesn't. So if today there is denudation of the mangrove forest in Bangladesh or in West Bengal, I mean, I think all of us are going to feel the impact of it. As you correctly said, that if the global warming, which is happening, if it is 1.1 degree already, and it's going to get to something around 2 to 2.5 degrees, irrespective of what we try and do, if we do something, we might be able to arrest it. Otherwise, it's going to get worse. So you'll see these, I would say, natural calamities or these hazards of nature playing out, which is going to impact all of us. So I think, how do you see it happening? I think one of the greatest things that has happened as far as South Asia is concerned today, and I think India, Bangladesh primarily, and that's why you see a large amount of reports which come out at World Bank or at national level are looking at Eastern South Asia. It's talking about from the Eastern Himalayas, the Northeast region, the belt around Bengal, Bihar, Orissa, and Bangladesh is one entity when you're talking about it. We are talking that in the biosphere kind of capability. But today, when you're looking at the Make in India program that's happening in India, I think what has come out in the COVID is that you cannot really be dependent on large supply chains to sustain your corporate development and working. So if you're going to be looking at long supply chains, they are likely to get disrupted. And once they get disrupted, then the impact, whether it is on your cost of living or your standards of living, is going to be adverse. So when you see that, as the Make in India initiative is taking shape, I think the corporate world today has to look at developing supply chain linkages with the other South Asian neighbors. And today, I think Bangladesh-India relationship is poised at such a level that Bangladesh has the expertise, the mental capabilities, and I would say the power of the mind to be able to plug itself into this Make in India initiative. So whether it's in defense, whether it's in energy, whether it is in power, whether it is on any other sector, I mean, all these different sectors, there is going to be linkages that can be established. So that is where I think corporates will come in. As we have seen, back office functioning of the developed world, which started from Delhi outhouses to move to Indore and now is moving to areas like Patna and beyond, you'll see the same challenges here. You will have to find that your supply chains, workforce, capability, and resources. If resources have to come from Indonesia and Australia to supplement the manufacturing sector in India, what better place to have it once we are using Chittagong and Mangla ports for along with the ports of India to get the items in, to utilize the workforce which is sitting very predominantly at the right place, cut down your supply chains, cut down the cost of transportation. And now with this seamless transportation that we're trying to work out, it actually facilitates this whole idea of linkages in the supply chain, and it ensures that relationship between India and Bangladesh and the neighboring South Asian countries is poised on the brink of long-term sustainability and not really based on how the winds blow at the political apex level in the two countries. So that would be the answer as far as corporates are concerned.
I just want to add one thing. It's not the corporate. I just want to add. Today only I saw that, as you all know, that India this year is the G20 presidency, and India is going to call 9 guest countries. Bangladesh is one of them to involve in all these meetings of G20. So I was just thinking, one way that's a government to government, but there is also a parallelly C20 and T20 is also making up. C20 civil society organization, so 20 civil society organization coming together, developing the new research results and which to supply to these G20 meetings, and as well as the think tank T20, where a lot of this think tank in India are coming together, having the most important issues, talking about innovative challenges, innovative solutions that they're kind of supplied to all these meetings. So I was just thinking, if that's government to government is happening in India and Bangladesh, why can't we, the CSOs and the T20, the think tanks, we can work together to have the common solutions that we can provide to the government of these G20 meetings. That's very much possible, and I think civil society organization, we don't have any boundaries. We are very much of the civil societies, for the people and by the people. So I think that's a beautiful opportunity we have, that we can work together. Yeah,
I
thank
think
you.
great suggestion, Geetika. Thank you very much. Uh, Karishma, you're the boss here. So can I close the session in case nobody has any other questions to ask? But the point here is, we'll close the session with it. But for all those who are present here of the younger generation, whether in official capacity, otherwise, please look at this space very, very seriously, because, as I said, the longevity in a line of profession that you're going to be selecting or choosing for, selecting for yourself will require a constant role to look at moving towards less emissions, which will require the green element to come in. For that, you will require to skill and upskill yourself. So that's where it remains a very critical issue. You're the people who are going to face the challenge of ensuring that it materializes in the right way. We can provide the right direction and impetus towards it. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Thanks to Balipara. Thanks to the organizers for having come in. And thank you very much, the audience, even if it is a little captive, but it's good to have people sitting here. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for this interesting session. and insights